I was going to address all the people on the stage with their appropriate titles, but you can read it. I was driving up here this morning, and I looked at the temperature gauge on my car. It said 49. And I said to myself as I hydroplaned up 309, girl, you better be good and you better be short. In a few minutes, you will all be receiving your diplomas, a marvelous accomplishment, you graduates of 2017. Imprinted on this document is the name of this institution of higher education. What do you think people will expect of someone who was a graduate of GMercyU University? Well, practically speaking, you should be ready to spell Gwynedd to everyone for the rest of your life. But more importantly, what will people expect of you because you are identified with mercy? By way of answering that question, I would like to tell you a story and offer you a challenge. The story is about a girl who graduated from that school at the other end of the campus, GMercy Academy. I met this young woman when she was a sophomore, and the only name I ever knew her by was Duffy. She is one of a kind, the kind that believes that one person can make a difference in the world. When Duffy was 7, she was preparing to make her first Holy Communion, and her teacher told the children that Jesus wanted all people to have the gift of peace. When she got home from school that day, she demanded that her parents provide her with some writing paper and the addresses of the President of the United States and of Russia. Knowing that they would have no peace until they fulfilled their precocious little daughter's request, her parents complied. You never want to have a kid like this. The letters went off to Washington and Moscow, reminding the leaders that God wanted everyone to have peace. And in Duffy's words, they needed to make it happen because she was just a little kid and couldn't do it herself. She signed both letters, "Your friend Duffy." Not long after that, she received a sweet little thank you note from some secretary at the White House, but nary a word from Russia. But hold that thought. Fast forward. At the age of 12, Duffy had a serious surgery to correct her scoliosis. This was a frightening and painful time for her. Yet she was aware that there were lots of other kids in her situation. While still in the hospital, she made another request of her parents. She had them research and collect the names and addresses of all the children who had her condition in every children's hospital in the country. Again, you don't want a kid like this. During her recovery, Duffy began a newsletter to encourage and comfort these kids. By the time she graduated from GMercy Academy, she had corresponded with 1,400 children across the United States. As a graduation gift from her parents, Duffy spent a month in Russia as a student exchange person. At the end of the month, the participants were welcomed to a special tour and dinner in the Great Hall of the Kremlin. When the tour guide realized that one of the students was from the United States, he pointed out a letter in a glass case on the wall from the little American girl who had reminded the Russian leader that God wanted him to make peace. It was Duffy's letter. I told that story so long I began to think I made it up. But I was confirmed by meeting a woman many years later who knew Duffy, and she knew her story. She asked me, "Sister, Didn't you think that Duffy would one day be running the world? I did indeed. In turn, I asked her, do you know what she's doing now? The woman replied that Duffy was married, had 2 children, and was working in a facility that cared for children with profound physical and intellectual challenges. I was not surprised. So what's the point of the story, and what does that have to do with all of you as graduates of Good Mercy University? I hope a great deal. Back to my original question. What can people expect of you in addition to your professional competence as alums of an institution that bears the name Mercy? Can others expect you to be someone who, in the words of this year's university theme, makes mercy real? As a graduate of another Mercy school, Duffy clearly identified with mercy. Will you be recognized as a merciful person? Someone who cuts others the break they don't deserve? We all know what we deserve, don't we? We usually get it. But if you have ever been cut the break you don't deserve, I want you to remember what that felt like. Because that is what a merciful person extends to others, treating each person with compassion and dignity. Duffy began to become a merciful person at a young age. As she grew into adolescence, she continued to make choices for the well-being of others, and she identified more and more with the call of mercy. She chose to be with those most vulnerable as a competent professional, bringing a compassionate and merciful presence. I don't have to tell you our world is desperately in need of merciful persons, and that is where you come in. I challenge you to make mercy real. It is the same challenge that Pope Francis issued last year in announcing the Jubilee Year of Mercy. I quote, "Let us open our eyes and see the misery of the world, the wounds of our brothers and sisters who are denied their dignity, and let us recognize that we are compelled to heed their call for help. May we reach out to them and support them so they can feel the warmth of our presence and friendship," end quote. You see, Pope Francis considers mercy a verb. Consequently, he believes that we should all be about mercying the world, creating a revolution of love and tenderness. Not only does Pope Francis talk the talk of mercy, he clearly walks the walk. You are probably aware that when he saw the homeless in St. Peter's Square, he felt their need for human dignity. As a result, he acted and had outdoor showers installed for these men and women so they might have easy access to improving their situation. Realizing the terrible plight of the Syrian people, Francis personally flew to that country and brought back an entire family to live in the safety of the Vatican. So how will we make mercy real? One clear and significant way is to perform the corporal and spiritual works of mercy. Actions that include feeding the hungry, instructing the ignorant, welcoming the stranger, comforting the sorrowful, visiting the sick, and the newest work of mercy added by Pope Francis this past September, caring for the earth. Catherine McCauley, the foundress of the Sisters of Mercy, stated that these works of mercy were to be the business of the lives of her community. The Sisters of Mercy take that mandate quite seriously, but don't think that gets you off the hook. In chapter 25 of Matthew's Gospel in the New Testament, Christians are taught that Jesus will judge them on how well they made the works of mercy their way of living in the world, because Jesus considers that what we do for those in need, we do for him. Likewise, Jewish persons are expected to be daughters and sons of the mitzvah, the good deed, so they can be about repairing the world so damaged by selfishness, pride, and greed. In addition, those who follow the sacred teachings of the Quran know that the true Muslim is the one who believes and does good deeds. Clearly, all major religious traditions, in their own way, call us to do mercy. Howard Gray, a Jesuit scholar, identifies 4 movements that are essential for doing mercy. They are seeing, feeling, acting, and sustaining. One movement flows from the other. Consider Pope Francis again. He saw the homeless in St. Peter's Square. He felt their plight. He acted by having the showers built and ensured that they are maintained. So in conclusion, let me rephrase my challenge to you as graduates of this Mercy University. Be competent in your chosen profession. Strive for excellence. Be lifelong learners. At the same time, be aware of the situation of your sisters and brothers in the human family, especially those in need. Allow yourselves to feel compassion for those who are vulnerable and have no voice. Find a way to act on their behalf and to sustain that effort moving forward. Just do it. Make mercy real.